All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Glenn Pastor, Vice Chair of the Swampscott School Committee. We are in our regular session of Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. It is 6 o'clock-ish. We are at Swampscott High School, 200 Essex Street, room B129. And thank you for joining us or watching us on video, whatever you choose to do. And if you would like to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Miguel, do we have any public comment out in the internet land?
I don't see anybody with their hand raised.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye out.
Please do. Anyone in the room? Don't be shy. Okay. All right, we're moving on. Committee comments. Sasha, let's start with you.
There haven't been any updates so far, I don't think. This week is midterms week, so it's been quite stressful, especially for me and Leah. We are juniors, we're going to be seniors next year, so grades are really important this year.
Sasha, hold on one sec. I don't think her mic is working up there.
In the room you can't hear it? Let me turn it up for you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sasha.
So as I was saying, Leah and I were juniors, so grades are really important this year. But other than that, nothing significant, I would say, has happened.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say too much has happened. I know break happened and we haven't been here in a while, but I would say in the beginning of January, the DECA event occurred and it was really successful. So congratulations to the people who get to go to states now.
Excellent. All right. Just for everyone's knowledge, can you give a little, I know what DECA is, but you want to just explain what that is?
So it's like a business club, and when you go to a hotel and you basically have like a mock interview, and you get a problem and then you have to solve it, and you have like 30 minutes with your partner, or if you're a soloist, to solve it, and then you present your ideas to like a judge, and if you do really good, you can qualify for states.
Great. Who's the proctor? Who's the?
Mr. Perchuk.
Excellent. I know it's a great program. One of my kids did it way back in the day. All right, thank you. John?
No specific comment, but just given that it's midterm week, I don't think we should hold the student reps here for the whole session, but whatever is appropriate.
Yeah, why don't we do 7 o'clock, guys, all right? Miguel?
I'll say last night was interesting. Hopefully we'll move forward, but very excited for tonight's information.
Great, thank you, Miguel. From my perspective, a couple things. One, I think this is the third or fourth time I'm going to say this. Swampscott Public Schools is here to educate each and every child who lives in district. We don't ask questions as long as they live here. It's none of our damn business. And we will do whatever we need to do to educate each and every child. Anyone has a comment on that online, feel free to drop me an email. Happy to chat with you about it. Anyways, I also found last night enlightening, and I know there are a few questions out there that we will get answers for, and we actually have answers to the 2 main points that I will be sharing with various members of the Select Board Finance Committee as well as the town administrator. I also am looking forward to tonight, and that's what I have. Any committee comment? We already did that, sorry, I can't even tell me. So I think now, reports and discussions, I will turn it over to Mr. Kalishman.
All right. The only thing that I had before we get into the presentation is that I believe you were all invited to the January 28th Give and Grow dinner. Mr. Lewis used to do it at the middle school, and now he's brought it to the high school. So it's a great event. So January 28th from 5:30 to 8. If you need any more information, you can certainly just let me know. But 5:30 to 8, the students put on a wonderful dinner, and the funds go to the Anchor Food Pantry
And it's here?
here this year. Yep,
Excellent.
changing venues. So,
All right.
all right.
Taller students.
Yeah,
It's supposed to support My Brother's Table.
and my brother's table. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank
All right. That sounds like a fantastic thing.
All right.
Okay.
And now let's get to it. We're going to do the budget presentation. So.
Before you go there, Cheryl, so with the budget presentation, please stop committee members. That would include student reps as well. At any time, please feel free to stop, ask the question. That's what this is. That's what this is all about. This is the school department's opportunity to present the school committee the budget. And with that, Ms. Stella, the floor is yours.
All right, I'm actually going to take the first slide. So,
okay.
our philosophy and priorities. So, while we understand the financial constraints of the town, we are extremely proud of all the work that's gone into this budget and also the work that we do day in and day out with our students pre-K to 12. And this budget's anchored in fiscal responsibility. However, our focus is student success. We are focused on key areas of growth and being mindful of having a high return on investment for our taxpayers. Every public dollar spent will be leveraged to its fullest potential, all to ensure that our schools continue to be the cornerstone of Swampscott. It's not lost on me or anybody else, shouldn't be lost on anybody else. People move here in large part for the school system, and I want them to realize they've made a very smart investment by entrusting us with their children. This is a bottom-up budget, and while it certainly is dependent on the demographics and state and federal mandates that align with our strategic goals for the district, we were able to make some efficiencies moving forward, such as a MLL teacher at the district-wide, administrative support at the elementary school, our transportation, one bus at the MECO program, and also one of the outside providers for our alternative pathways. So, does anybody need any, just to be specific if you're looking for it, our MLL numbers have dropped, not just in Swampscott, not just in the state, in the whole country. And because of that, we're down to 92 students this year, which enabled us to sort of see that efficiency. The MECO PUS, there's 53 students in the MECO program currently, and there are sort of other towns like size that made this adjustment: Linfield, Foxborough, Braintree, Cohasset, Dover, Sherburne. Programs like that have that same range of students have the kids on one K-12 bus. Still, the late bus is still in play. There's still a bus monitor, but we're going to one bus for the K-12 students in the morning and in the afternoon before the late bus. Our admin assistant at the elementary school, we have systems in place, we have procedures in place. The elementary school is up and running and thriving, and we believe that we can have 2 administrative assistants at the elementary school instead of 3. And our After Dark program is currently $65,000 for 8 students, and we want to continue to invest in our pathways here at Swampscott High School.
Great.
Okay. Great. Next slide. These decisions and reallocations have allowed us to continue to build our MTSS systems, our multi-tiered systems of support, add an additional teacher at SMS in 5th grade, which has been an issue for. We have high rising class sizes in the 5th grade, and it's such a transition year. We want students to be successful in the 5th grade, so adding an additional teacher there. This also enables us to have a health teacher at SMS that we've talked about for a long time. Continue to build our innovation pathway system, pathways at Swampscott High School, investment in our current pathways, but also investing in a new one, our 3rd pathway, TV, media, and arts, and continued investment in professional development and high-quality instructional materials. Future needs that we could be looking for: increased leadership capacity with our administrators, continued investment in high-quality instruction materials, continued growth of those pathways, their consumables, investing in, we talked about perhaps a teacher pathway down the road. Again, we want to keep our students here and have something for all of our students to feel the reason they want to come to school in the morning, and for some of those students, it is those pathways. Looking at our state competency determination requirements for high school graduation, possible expansion of AP classes and electives at Swampscott High School with the program of studies. And again, I would say sort of the non-negotiable, we have to continue to invest in MTSS throughout the district.
Mr. Gallagher, just for those who are watching, can you just explain what MTSS is?
Yeah, so multi-tiered systems of support. It is essentially, we want to make sure that every student is getting what they need. We want to have, right now we have K through 6, we have a system where students are getting additional support if they need it. We have classes that kids have stretch groups. So if you're a high flyer student, you're getting what you need. If you're struggling in a certain area, you're getting what you need there as well. I think that's something parents have really responded to extremely well. I think for a long time, I can say this as middle school principal, we used to get the sort of, what are you doing for our high flying students? And now we have the answer. And we're looking forward to bringing that K through 7 next year, K to 8 the year after that, and then eventually to the high school.
Great, thank you.
We have some highlights across the district. I know Ms. Sanborn was here a few weeks ago, and Ms. Minter, and Ms. Zotto before that. So just to reiterate some of the things they talked about, the behavioral support systems at the elementary school and the academic interventions, the STEAM integration, our targeted instruction groups, the TI groups that are linked with the MTSS that we talked about, the cross-grade collaboration, one of the great things that comes with the new campus model, with the elementary school being right next to the middle schoolers. Our kids are going over to the elementary school and reading to their classes, and we can really partner with those two schools. Mrs. Otto presented on the open house at Swampscott High School, again, developing that culture of excellence, expanding opportunities for all of our students, having that identifiable spirit, strong academic growth and inclusion for all while sort of feeling that sense of pride still that they belong in this high school and that it means something to them, while having that district-wide commitment to core that does not go away, the community, opportunity, respect, and equity for everybody.
So before you go, anyone have any questions on budget philosophy or priorities?
I think one thing just to maybe point out is since we're getting that teacher at the middle school to make them appropriate class sizes, like what do the class sizes look like? So kind of people know.
So right now, we're looking at class sizes at 25. And that's before, usually we'll get people moving in the summer as well. But 25 for a 5th grade classroom is tight.
Yes.
So we're trying to get them back into that 20 to 22 range, yes.
John?
Not at the moment.
Okay, I'll just say that, the first time, writing a budget and, the philosophy and the priorities, this is great. I'm happy to hear that we dug down hard about areas of efficiency. We've identified more efficiencies, and that's great to hear. And I appreciate that, and that's what I have.
All right, so I just want to give everyone an overview of what our process and timeline is for building this budget. We really start this process in October with the budget subcommittee, and then we work with district leadership throughout November. Beginning of December is when we have meetings with the leadership team and really go through all their requests and their budgets. And then end of December is when the budget book goes out to the school committee. We presented our capital projects on January 12th. Last night was a mini financial summit, and then we're here tonight. And so as far as kind of next steps as we look forward with this budget, February 5th will be the actual public hearing school committee vote. We will be responding to the finance committee questions around beginning of February. February 13th, we'll send the budget to the town administrator as required. And then sometime in March, we present the budget to finance committee, and then we have May town meeting. So I highlight this just so people can see that we really start this process in October, which is, pretty far away from May when the actual town meeting vote is. So it's a lengthy process. It's a lot of back and forth with all of our department heads and the leadership team. It's a very collaborative effort as well with the school committee. And that's just a little overview. So Our budget is increasing by 3.96%, or 1.35 million. Just a reminder that 80% of our school budget is compensation, and within that, 71% of it is governed by CBAs, or collective bargaining agreements. We have 6.6 million in capital that we have requested by the town, and we anticipate using about 4.6 million out of our revolving funds and circuit breaker. The one cost center that I do want to highlight as you look at this, that'll probably stick out for many, is the administration cost center. That cost center is increasing by 18.35%, and that is in large part due to our salary reserve. If the committee might recall last year, we utilized the salary reserve last year because we were in collective bargaining, and so that's where we house all our raises for collective bargaining. But we also use that salary reserve line for potential lane changes. So we get the list of anticipated lane changes for next year, and then in September, by September 1st is when they have to provide all the actual documentation. And so all of the money for what we project will be lane changes for next year sits within the administration cost center. And so this year we had 71 lane changes submitted as anticipated for next year. Our average has been 47, so this is quite a bit higher than typical, than we've typically seen. And then, so that makes up the vast majority of that administration cost center. And then non-union salaries, which covers a variety of positions, career counselors, kindergarten aides, crossing guards, and then our administrative team. And then the other cost center that I want to highlight that's increasing fairly significantly is our school facilities, and that is because we have a new supply contract for gas, which is going up 11%, and then we have a supply contract as well for electric, which is going up 23%. So that's really what's driving that cost center as well.
Can I just stop and ask a question? Can we talk a little bit about the lane changes, and although those numbers are high, what we did during negotiations to make it, to give everybody, especially the finance committee, some cost certainty going forward?
Yeah, so during negotiations, one of the big things that we were able to negotiate with the union, and they were amenable to, was that an individual, no matter how many credits they might take and submit, can only actually move one lane change per fiscal year. And so previously, somebody might be in a program and they might be, I'm just going to make this up, Master's 15. And perhaps by the time September rolls around, they have completed 30 credits. Well, previously they could go from Master's 15 all the way up to Master's 45, so 2 lane changes. Now they would only be able to, in one fiscal year, go from Master's 15 to Master's 30, which is significant for us as a district.
Great. So just so everyone's aware, it's a big win for the school district. And that just came from the really great work that we all did with the Swampscott Education Association and the bargaining committee.
One thing I will ask is, could you define what a lane change is? Because I know some people may not know, and a new committee member.
Sure. So a lane change is when an educator goes to school, gets additional schooling, and is growing professionally. They get credits for the classes that they take. And then once they hit a certain number of credits, then they can move up into the next level of salary. And that's why they call it a lane change, because in a teacher's grid, there are steps which are for each year of service here, and then within that lanes. So each lane, when they get the next educational accomplishment, can move into that next lane, which then pushes them into a different effectively a different salary band or range if you're in the private sector. So, and this is truly their only way. There's no promotions for a teacher, right? They don't exist. You're a teacher, you're a teacher. And so this is equivalent to somebody in private sector, either through their performance or through their education, receiving a promotion and now being into a new salary range.
Thank you, and it sounds like it's also a good thing for the school overall, since they're getting kind of continued education and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
bringing that into the classroom.
Yep, absolutely. And then the last thing I just really want to mention on this slide is that, and I know it was discussed last night, this year we are not going to request from the town that our utilities be funded through free cash. We have built within this budget the utilities for the elementary school.
Great. And so then that would make whatever MOU that was signed the last couple of years a moot point.
Correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I was just also going to add the 396, when we talked about how we are committed to sort of being mindful of the financial constraints of the town and being mindful of every single tax dollar. When you look at the other towns around us that we've collected information for, there's nobody else that we can find that's below 4. So we're coming in at 396. If you look at Linfield, they started off at 4.9. Select Board said 3.7. School Committee said they'd land at 4.3. Saugus is 7.8. Stoneham 16.6. Hopkinton 5.84. Hamilton Wenham 5.91. Manchester Essex 7.40. Salem between 4.85 and 5. So again, we're really proud of the work that went into this, and we are mindful of the budget constraints as well.
Great. And just to clarification about, sorry everybody, I've been under the weather for a bit. Stoneham, that number is due to an override,
An override,
correct?
yeah. And there's a number of towns that are asking for overrides.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, so, we really talk about our budgets and cost centers, and that is how the school committee votes the school budget. And so, this kind of gives you a sense of what % of our budget lies within each cost center. And what I think is really important to know is that the cost centers that are directly kind of related to students, educating students, so our district-wide cost center, which includes, software, crossing guards, nurses, and our general and special education cost centers account for 87% of the budget. And so, as you can see, that, the majority of our budget is going to the students themselves, not to, overhead or utility bills or things like that. It's direct student contact. So next we're going to go into, as we move through the presentation, this is something that we always really look at every year, and kind of, while one data point doesn't tell a whole story, looking at a few of these data points that DESE puts out can sometimes help guide us a little bit in our decisions. And so the school committee might recall these are the peer groups that we use during bargaining, and so those are the ones that we will, kind of benchmark ourselves against, so to speak, when we look at the DESE data. The most recent DESE data available is 2024. They won't come out with 2025 until July. And so the first data point here that we look at is average teacher pay. When you look at our peer groups, the average is $92,886, and Swampscott's average is $91,473. So, I think this is, again, kind of in the ballpark of when we go in the bargaining where we want to be, right? Kind of middle of the road. We're not beating the average, but we're not so far away either that we feel like we need to make large adjustments. And I think this is, we'll continue, obviously we continue to track this and we continue to look at this, but that's kind of where we land on the average teacher pay. And then as we look at our enrollment, this is always kind of another, again, data point to look at. But I think we've talked about this quite a bit, but as you look at the data, you can really see that, students with disabilities have increased 8.5% since FY17, high needs students 11.7%, and low income students 6.3%. So, we talk about the changing demographics here and how our student population looks different today than it did, way back in 2017, and this data helps support that.
These two slides are really interesting. Anyone have any questions about these two slides?
Just how are we defining high needs here on the slide?
It's a DESE definition. We don't define it, DESE does.
Do you have any idea what the definition is? Can you do? Yeah, just remind everyone of your name in case we don't know you.
Stand here.
Yeah, it's whatever you want.
My name is Sarah Kent. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning. The definition of high needs is a student who is either a student with disabilities, a multilingual learner, or a low-income student, or any combination thereof. They can have one of those attributes or three, or
Gotcha.
any combination of two.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
This is a graphic that we have looked at over the past few years that really allows us to look at how is our enrollment changing as a district, and then mapping how our FTEs also are mapping in conjunction with our enrollment. And one thing I do want to point out, this is the data for 2026 as of October 1st, which is the official report. Since that official report on October 1, the district has seen a net increase of students of 8 already. So a slight tick up from what you see here on this graph. As you can see that, we really, as we went into, post-pandemic, we had ESSER funding, enrollments dropping, and the FTEs were increasing. As, the committee all knows, over the past few fiscal years, we've worked to reduce overall FTEs, especially as that ESSER funding and all the other pandemic grants went away. We just didn't have the money to support a lot of those positions, and we've really leveled out, and in fact, we're a decrease of 1 FTE with this budget overall at this point. So.
I was going to say about enrollment, as a lot of you know, that enrollment all over the state is down. Public school enrollment's there was an article in the Boston Globe that it's at a 30-year low. There's been articles about towns around here. I know Danvers, Beverly, they talked about how they could be facing their lowest enrollment in ever. I know Marblehead had an article about them being down. We are, if you look at, I know we report on the October 1st, but if you look at our June 30th report, we're actually plus 34 from last year students. So I feel like we are, again, on the rise with enrollment as well.
And, go ahead.
No, okay.
I was just going to say, if our enrollment ticks up, that helps to increase our Chapter 70 funding as well, too. So there's a financial benefit to the town and school as well as it relates to that.
Right. I think that's an important thing for us to say to the community is that we have managed to increase our enrollment.
Yes,
And I think that speaks volumes to A, new elementary school,
absolutely.
B, the hard work at, candidly, a middle school building that needs to be replaced, but the ex-administrator and all the staff there. And then it speaks volumes of what's going on up at this building. New leadership, new vibe, new energy. I think it's amazing that we can share that with this community.
Absolutely.
I'll just add to that it's also good to see that we're not cutting a bunch of teachers or anything like that, since that's kind of what you've been reading with some of our neighbors, that they're gonna have to do massive layoffs, but we've been able to meet our demands with what we got.
And I think, also Jason talked about this earlier, but, we were able to make certain investments and add certain things, right, to this budget while actually overall decreasing by an FTE, which we know that, for the town, we're the largest user of their health insurance, right? So if we're adding FTEs, that is impacting their budget negatively. And so it's also part of our commitment to the town when we're looking at what we're going to invest in. We always really have that in the back of our head as a school district as well.
So we're down to 1 head count and then a little bit in healthcare, in the health savings.
That's right. So this graph just gives you a sense of what our overall state aid and then state assessments have looked like over the past handful of years. And I think something to really note here, as you can tell graphically looking at that, and we've seen this as well, is that since FY23, our school state aid, so not the town aid, has increased by 16%. And again, that's a direct result of, the Chapter 770 funding formula, but also the fact that our enrollment, while it dipped and then has started to come back up again. Something else that, obviously impacts the district, but the town overall, is our assessments as well. And so the assessments, including our assessment for Essex North Shore to send our kids there, have decreased by 18% over that same time period. And so that results in an overall net increase of state aid to the town since FY23 of 34%, or $1.1 million. So I think that's really important to highlight, that some of the things that are happening here in the schools are also resulting in an overall significant increase in the state aid that's coming in for schools.
So would this then kind of be tied to the Pathways program, where we're kind of potentially keeping some of the kids here instead of going elsewhere that may have the equipment or teaching?
Yeah, I think that's part of the puzzle. I think
There
it's,
we go.
like Glenn said, I think that has a lot to do with the new elementary school. I think it has to do with the reputation of the middle school and the work that's happening at Swampscott High School as well. So it's all those things, and all things we're very proud of. So it's good to see that the community kids are coming back, and people are moving here in large part because of the schools.
The next data point that we always look at with DESE as well is our net school spending. And we talked about this a bit last year, but there's net school spending and per pupil. Net school spending is really supposed to indicate, well, two things. One, there's a required contribution by the town. Swampscott has always funded well above the required contribution. And effectively, that required contribution is the state saying this should be your ability to pay for your portion of the school budget. And so we do the same exercise. We take our peer groups, we see what their net school spending is as a percent of their budget, how much they're over or under, which I don't know of really many that are under, and in fact that's problematic, but the majority of districts spend well above net school spending requirement. And as you can see, the average for our peer groups is 56% above that requirement. And for 25, we're at 43%.
Anyone have any questions about that?
It's great to see that we're under the average.
Yeah, this is always a catch-22 for me. I look at, everyone compares us to Marblehead, and they're 70%.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money for the school district. And I think this is one area that I certainly probably won't happen in my lifetime, but I would certainly like to see us get at least to the average.
As I talked about before, the next thing we really look at is our per pupil expenditures. And again, this is the most recent DESI data that we have available to us. As you can see, we're again slightly below our peer groups when it comes to what we're spending per pupil. We're at 21,736, and the average is 22,549. And so that just takes, you know, it takes our average enrollment, and it takes every single expense that I report out to DESI from any and all sources. And the only things it excludes from this calculation are what they call community services, which we don't have expenditures for that. Fixed assets, if we purchased fixed assets, which you don't, and then debt service, which we do have, and that's associated with any of our capital that we submit. Those are the things that they exclude from the calculation, but everything else is included in the calculation.
So refresh my memory on this number. That includes special ed, general ed, that's the average of everybody,
It's everything, in district, out of district,
right?
Literally every expense.
'Cause I remember last year, there were a lot of questions, you know, comparing us to like Linfield, for example. It's like, hey, how come we're $1,300 more? And a lot of those factors like special ed, like some other things that could vary year to year, aren't obvious when you look at this, but, you know, they are part of the, kind of the mathing here, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I don't know if you recall, when we actually dove into that after that question was raised, there was two things that Linfield was far under us on their per pupil when you dove into the category, and that was health insurance and the retirement obligation, which, you know, obviously we don't have control over that.
Right. Thank you.
So next I'm going to just kind of go through just some budget highlights by location, really talk about, you know, what's happening with each school and their budget. The elementary school budget is only increasing 1.6%. The main reason for this is two main reasons. One, we're starting to see some efficiencies there at that school, which we thought we would, and we are, as Jason talked about the MLL. And then secondly, we have a group of students a large group of students that are actually shifting from elementary next year up into middle school. So when we get into middle school, you'll see their budget increasing a bit higher. It's because the resources associated with those students are shifting from the elementary school and moving up switching from elementary to middle school. Some other areas where we saw some efficiencies was we did reduce one of our contracted cleaning individuals at the elementary school. The reading curriculum, I don't know if the committee recalls, but we rolled out a new reading curriculum, and the payment for that next year is significantly less than previous years. And then we have budgeted for Clark maintenance expenses only, which is per our current agreement with Recreation, but we have not included anything for utilities because we're assuming that, you know, the Recreation Department will continue in that space. It has seemed very successful, seems to be going well, and so it didn't make sense for us to build something into the budget that we really had no anticipation of needing.
Can I just ask you a question? Max, I don't want to put you on the spot here. I think that's a great assumption that we're making. As a facilities director, does that meet what your thought process is as well?
Yes, it does. I mean, I can't speak for the rec department, but it seems to be going quite well, in my opinion.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
And then, as we talked about with the middle school is increasing 6.4%. Again, the vast majority of that is the resources that are moving up from the elementary school. As Jason mentioned earlier, this budget does have a planned 1.0 fifth grade teacher, again, to maintain those class sizes. And then we talked about the addition of the health teacher as well. Any questions about the middle school?
I'm happy about the health teacher.
Yes, I'm also happy about the
Yeah.
health teacher.
Yes, I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, just so the community knows and why we're smiling here. This is one area that I think everyone on the school committee for several years has wanted in the budget, and we just have not been able to get there. And with the efficiencies done by the admin department, the business department, we've been able to add what we think will have an immense impact at the middle school for all students within the Swampscott Middle School. So I am incredibly pleased that we could have that this year.
All right, moving on to the high school. The high school is increasing by 5%, as Mr. Kalishman mentioned. That is due to our investment in our pathways. So it's an addition of a teacher. Our Innovative Pathways grant initially was covering a portion of our career counselor. That portion of the grant we can no longer fund the career counselor through. It is a requirement if we have the pathways to have the career counselor. So that has shifted from the grant into our budget. There are some science needs that they have in their laboratory, looking to replace some microscopes there. Again, consumables for Innovative Pathways, as we talk a lot, we really want to invest here in the district so, we can slowly maybe bring students back, either the less utilization of After Dark or through Essex North Shore. And then just generally, you'll see this throughout, but the utility costs that I spoke about earlier on the supply charges, that's impacting all the different schools as well. Any questions on the high school?
I think we're good.
And so this is kind of a roll-up, because there's no neat category to put district-wide and our preschool expenses in. This is increasing 3.6%. The main driver of this is that salary reserve line that I discussed earlier today, or earlier tonight. This includes kind of expenses that we see across the district, but then also within our central office budgets. One thing that Special Education Department has seen an increase in is the number of translations and the cost of translations. So that's impacting this number. We also have a lot, which is great, a lot of new teachers to the district. And there's a requirement to have mentors for them. And so that budget has increased for us as a district overall. And then this budget obviously includes our out-of-district tuition and transportation. And I just want to remind everybody that when we build this budget in November, that is what we are basing those dollars on. I know we've talked about it at length, but between November and next summer, that number can fluctuate drastically, which is why, we have things like circuit breaker, the Special Education Reserve Fund. Those are reasons why we have those. You're up.
Okay. So again, we want to thank everybody for their investment in Swampscott Public Schools. With this budget, again, this fiscally responsible budget, we feel that we can improve the areas we need to improve on, enhance our programs, and ultimately support our kids, which has an impact on the greater Swampscott community. We're focusing on maximizing the usage of all of our funds, and I am committed to making the school system a place where all of our community members know that they're welcome and feel proud to be a part of. So with that, we have a little, we have a little video. The music works. The music's not going to work.
No, the music's not working.
Yep. It was better to music.
Just imagine the music.
Imagine the music, exactly.
We could sing for you.
But it's just a few highlights across the district. Again, that was an example of one of our middle school students going back down to the elementary school, which is a great opportunity for all of our kids again. With that, we'll take any other questions.
As that plays, Any questions from anyone? Sasha, anything? Okay, I know, I have to ask. Leah?
No.
Okay, Miguel?
No questions. It looks great overall that we're kind of not going to be asking for any free cash money as it is, and that we're doing very well compared to other districts for this budget as well. So,
John?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It sounds like, as usual, everyone's taking a very conservative approach here, very thoughtful as how the money is getting spent and budgeted. Is there anything here that, we're in a snapshot in time right now. Is there anything that, maybe will keep you up at night worrying about, as we go into the new fiscal year?
I guess the only thing that keeps me up at night is that if we're gonna bring people on board, like a health teacher, I hope it's not just for a year or two. So anybody that we hire, I want them to stay here, and I want to keep them employed. So that's the only thing that would worry me, I guess.
The only thing I would say, and I think we're a little bit protected for next year, but we all know what's happening at the federal level. As we talked about last year, we had anticipated a decrease in Title I funding. We saw that decrease. So those revenue streams that we have always been somewhat guaranteed are, could be in jeopardy to a certain extent. So, we try to keep abreast of what's happening, but ultimately, obviously it's out of our hands.
Right. For me, thank you very much for the presentation. It was great. I appreciate all the answers to our initial questions. Some nicer than others, I think, but that's okay. I appreciate that. Something that has struck me the last several years is just the change of, and I think a positive change in population of our community. And so when I see increased translations and cost of translations, can you just delve in a little bit more to what that actually means to the community and what it means? Like, is that literal people that we need to translate into language they can understand, or is it something different? It is.
Yes, yeah, it's literally translating any level of document verbally or in written.
Great. Okay. The other thing I think I'll say is, one of the and I know everyone has said this evening, one of the challenges that I think we have on the school department, and I think it's across the state, every school committee, is we have to make a budget early, and there are just things we don't know. And even come September, there are things we just don't know. And, I know, Martha, you're darndest to kind of figure out what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, all we can do is really make a really good educated guess.
Right.
And, especially in the summertime when families move in, and I'd mentioned this last night, we treat everyone with complete and utter respect and privacy. And privacy to me is the key word. I said this last night, is we have to make sure that we protect any child and any family that comes into this district. So I really appreciate, kind of you doing your best shot on the number. Just want, again, the community to know there are certain things on the school budget, and it's the only budget that I think says this. There are certain things we just don't know today, January, whatever today's date is. I've completely lost track the last couple of days. So things are going to change. If we're lucky enough that some things go down, we will scream that at the moon. That doesn't happen very often. Although I remember reading in Linfield, they did have a little bit of a dip in their proposed or anticipated special education costs. It's kind of how they could bring their number down. But I just want to say one last thing. The budget number is going to be the budget number is going to be the budget number. And we can argue and go to the floor of town meeting, and sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. But the budget number is impactful for students. That's how we come to this budget number. How do we educate the students? If the budget number ends up being lower, that impacts the students. The budget number ends up being higher, that impacts the students. So that's where I stand on this. I think this is a very fair budget. I think the administration and business department heard what the school committee was saying. We want to work with everyone on the town side. So we were determined to keep that number as low as it could go without impacting students. Thank you very much. Great job. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Subcommittees. Unless you have anything else to share, Superintendent?
No, I was just going to thank Ms. Steller again and the whole team, because it was such a collaborative process. Everybody was involved and made sure that we came to this number and this percentage, that it was, again, within the financial constraints of the towns, but also allowing us to make our schools the best possible place that we could go. So,
great. Any subcommittee reports? Anything at all? No, I don't think so either. I guess my only question, and I know it's a little bit far away, we do have a placeholder for a February 12th meeting. Do we think we're going to need that? What's your thought process?
That's only if, for some reason, the committee is unable to vote the
Okay.
budget on the 5th, then we would have to have it on the 12th, for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's why that placeholder is there,
great.
because we have a date, we must
Right.
send the budget to the town administrator.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave it the way it is. I just wanted to ask. All right, well, skipping right along, we're going to go with to actions and votes. So we have one donation and one regular session minutes, and we'll do one vote at a time. On the donation side, Swampscott Elementary School, the Boston Bruins Foundation, 100 Causeway Street in Boston, Mass. Again, the Bruins Foundation, they gave $10,000, about $3,000 worth of Franklin sports equipment, and a check for a little under $7,000. I'm going to read this. I know we talked about it, but just to put it in the public record, the Be Fit to Win It contest is to promote health and wellness education in local elementary schools. Winning schools will receive a Be Fit assembly powered by National Grid and supported by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, plus a donation towards health and wellness education. 10 winners will receive $10,000 donation. One outstanding entry will receive a $100,000 grand prize. To the Boston Bruins Foundation and to all who are involved in this, thank you doesn't seem strong enough, but thank you. Each and every dollar will go to student wellness, and we really appreciate your donation and selecting of our fantastic community. So with that, can someone make a motion to approve this donation?
I make a motion to approve the Bruins Foundation donation.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It carries unanimously. Whoops. Sorry, get rid of my thing here. Now we have regular session minutes of January 8th, 2026. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Can someone make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the regular session minutes of January 8th, 26.
Second?
All those in favor? Okay, it passes unanimously. And unless anyone has something to say, forever speak your piece, we will adjourn. Can someone make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Goodbye. Thank you for joining. Any questions out there, let us know.